I'm still alive, thank God. Just had a life-threatening accident on the N1. God saved me. Could have been fatal because the car's a write-off. We won't go now. God is alive, so am I. These are not my words. Indeed, they are 6 years old. After this brief break, I introduce the owner of these words. My name is Lord Harris Idwasare, and welcome to another edition of Ghana Web's Road Safety Campaign series. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You're watching the Ghana Road Safety Campaign series with me, Lord Harris Idwasare. Today, our guest is the prominent Kofi Okyere Darko, fashion designer. You should check out his work. But today, he's going to recount events that occurred in 2015. It must have been very dark. But the man is here himself, so he tell us about it all. KOD, welcome.
Lord, it's good to see you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Right.
6 years.
Yes. It's been 6 years.
How was it like what was going through your mind when you wrote those words on Facebook?
And these are the exact words that run on my mind at the time, that next to God, men are indebted to life itself and also for making it worth living. You know, because I've had friends who have died in that same way. If you knew Kwame Osuansan, the actor, he died on that same stretch. And he drove into a truck, and that's how he died. And really, it was only by God's grace that I survived that. There was nothing special about what I did on the night.
You talk of Kwame Osuansan, and he also was interested in a similar way. He also drove into a truck.
Yes, I drove into a truck.
But what happened on that night? It was 1st April 2015?
It was on the eve of April Fool's Day, probably around 11:30.
Okay.
The stretch, the N1 wasn't very busy. In actual fact, I saw no traffic ahead of me, so I decided to drive quite fast.
Okay.
And that's what I told myself, oh, Charlie, let me drive fast. And when I got around Nestle, I saw a truck ahead of me. In actual fact, I thought it was in motion. So to my left was a Range Rover. My right side was, the pavement, but then it's been elevated. So if I when I realized that the car was stationary,
okay,
I had to think fast. Was I going for the Range Rover to my left or the pavement? Now, neither of them was going to work for me. And I think I was doing probably around 120, 120, 130. I was driving very fast. So I said to myself, okay, let me go for the brakes and hope the car stops before the truck. So I saw everything, like all the way. Pam! I saw every microsecond of it.
How did that feel like?
When it happened, I thought I was dead. I mean, I thought I was gone. You know how when you watch movies, people actually die and then they get out of their body. So opening the door myself, unstrapping the seat belt and opening the door, to me at that moment was as though I died and just the soul getting out of the body. That's how I felt. So I walked to the other side of the road and just lay on the pavement. A couple of guys came around. I think a driver who was also on the stretch came. They found my phone for me. The car was shattered from the front of the bonnet all the way to the windscreen, to actually the steer. The interior of the car, the way it looked shattered, everything was broken. I wonder how. I only got some bruises on, these bruises. That's all I got. Nothing. This is all I got. But I was in so much pain. And the guys were able to get my phone for me. I don't know, but for a strange reason, the first person I thought about was Kwame Sefakai. who should have been asleep by that time because he wakes up very early to get on the radio. So around 11:30 towards midnight, he should be sleeping. So I called him and he picked up. And I said, Magical, that's how we call each other, Magical. I just had an accident on the N1. And it's quite worrying. I don't know how I've been able to pick up, I don't know why I thought of you, but please, I need you to come and take me to the hospital. And because it was on April Fool's Day, the first thing he said was, Kofi Okyere April Fool's Day, only the measure how much you were Juma.
Wrong timing.
Yeah, wrong timing. So I think I was not in the mood to even argue. The next name that came on my mind, I didn't want to call my wife because I didn't want her worried at the time. So I called my brother-in-law. Actually, I called my wife, yes, and said, because I was driving her car on that night. It was a Kia Soul.
Okay.
Yeah. I was driving her car that night. And what I said was, Cross, that's how I call her, Cross. I just had an accident on the N1. Your car is a total write-off, but I'll get you another one. Please get Steven, that's my brother-in-law, to come take me to the hospital. So she asked where I was. I said I was right in front of Nestle. And so my brother-in-law, we don't live too far from that area, so he was there in about maybe 10, 15 minutes.
Wow.
And at that point, I began feeling very cold. And when you watch movies, when people are feeling cold, that's towards the end. So I thought, I was dying. People were like, okay, you have to go to the nearest police station to report. I'm like, no, I don't want to go to any police station. I want to go to the hospital. We went to a couple of hospitals around, the whole no bed thing. And finally ended up at 37. We made some calls to some big people. And, they received us at the emergency ward. And took care of me.
How long were you in the hospital for?
I think I spent about 2 weeks. Yeah, they had all these things, because I was in a lot of pain. Yeah, I don't know what they call it, that thing that straightens your neck. But I like a collar, that's what they call it, right? It was, to my neck. I spent some time there. My friends were coming in, my family from everywhere. My old man showed up and we're like, how can you die before me? And you won't believe this, my father died exactly a year after that, at the same place. Yeah, wow. At the same ward where I was taken, it's not from an accident, well, he was an old man. Yeah, but, that's the same place that he died. And I still feel very blessed. I don't forget this accident every 31st of March. And I've had consistently I share the pictures. I want to go past that, but I think that it would also help other people, because sometimes you don't appreciate it until you know someone very close who's experienced something. Mm-hmm. And I think having been around for so long and everything I've done in the space of the media and fashion, everything that I represent, for me to speak about something like this, it would encourage other people and also deter people from doing what I did wrong, because first of all, I was driving beyond the speed limit. I think on that stretch it's about 100 kilometers per hour. I was doing like 120 and 130.
But you had your strap on?
I had my seatbelt on, thank God. I think it's one of the things that really saved me.
Okay.
And really prior to that, I was one of those who was very guilty of wearing the seatbelt. But on that night I was like, I'm going to drive fast, let me wear my seatbelt.
Wow.
Yeah, I was very guilty. I thought, oh, Charlie, you're driving in Accra, you're doing what, 40, 60, do you really need your seatbelt on? But there are moments that you'd be driving, and I've experienced that as well, when you're doing everything right, mm-hmm. and then someone drives into you from behind, you'd still need your seatbelt to save you.
Yeah. Otherwise the impact.
Yeah, the impact. So seatbelts are very necessary. I think that God knew that I had so much more to do around here. and knew it was not time for me to go. My children were so little then, 6 years ago. I couldn't have left them. You know what I mean? And yeah, so it was an experience, and I share this with people like every now, like we're doing now. Yeah.
You mentioned that the truck was stationary.
Yes, it had been there for hours apparently. I think about a day before.
So there was no occupant?
No occupants. There was no occupant, no driver, nothing. It was just there. It was actually a dump truck.
That's a way to go.
Yeah. It was a dump truck.
Wow. So in the time that you spent in the hospital and then you were going through the pictures and stuff, did you ever think about it this way, that you had rammed into a dump truck, and so if that had taken away, that was how you were going to go?
That didn't strike me. I think the most important thing for me at that point was being grateful for having having lived after that accident. I mean, I've seen, like I mentioned, Kwame Uswan's name earlier. Many people have died as a result of having that same kind of accident. I think one happened not too long ago in front of Tesano police station, just a couple of weeks ago. That same kind of accident. I was so angry that morning. Yeah, it was stationary. At dawn, and someone, drove into it. And consistently, we've lost so many lives because of that same thing. A truck is left in the middle of the road for days and no one goes to attend to it. I thought there are people responsible for keeping our roads safe, but it happens. And look at the number of people we've lost this year to road accidents alone. I think it's been the highest in our country's history. And this should not happen when people are getting smarter, technology is getting better. Do you understand? There's more communication. You don't need just one or two radio stations saying it. It's on social media. It's everywhere. We hear about the statistics. We see the numbers. We unfortunately get to see some of the videos as well. So I think that, thank you very much for this platform. I can use this to also urge other people to drive defensively when they are on our roads.
Claude, let me just draw you back a little bit. You mentioned Kwame Sefakan was the first person you called.
Yes.
And because of the
it struck me that, listen, man, the guy was waking up at 4 o'clock. He's not the only person I know, even though he's the first name that came to mind.
Yeah, what was his reaction?
Oh man, Sefa didn't forgive himself because on his way to work, he actually saw the accident. And then it struck him that that's what Kofi was talking about. He did not forgive himself. Sefa's been my guy from day one. We have that affinity for each other. So I can just imagine what was running on his mind. Yeah.
Looking at the situation now, what would you advise road users, particularly vehicle users?
I think we all ought to, because I still drive. We all ought to be very cautious when driving. Trust no one. Drive defensively, and don't trust anyone who's driving around you. See the next person as a mad guy who's probably going to drive into your car or anything. Leave enough space between you and whoever is in front of you, and also observe the speed limit on our roads. Okay. Don't take things for granted, because the truth is, once you're not driving very fast, you can take care of anything that happens. If it's sudden, you can always avoid an accident, unless if it's coming from behind. But if it's right in front of you and you can see what's ahead, if you're not driving very fast, you can always avoid.
Or under the influence.
Yeah, or under the influence. Yes. And I have to say this. I'm actually saying this for the first time. It's good you brought that up, because I was from a friend's drinker. I don't drink a lot, but I had a little to drink. I had a little to drink.
Okay.
So that's also, thank you for that. Drinking and driving. I think it doesn't That's probably why I could not even tell that the car was not in
speeding.
motion. Exactly.
Okay.
Do you understand? I don't know about this guy
you'd
who
have seen
died.
that they lost
I don't know
stop.
about this accident that happened on
The Tesano show.
the Tesano accident. I don't know about what happened. You know, whether it was the same kind of thing. But let me say, maybe if I had not taken in some alcohol, I would have known that the car was, because I thought it was in motion. I thought it was a truck. Most of them drive around even at night with no lights on. But I thought it was in motion.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for sharing
You're
your
welcome.
experience.
You're welcome. Thank you very much
KOD.
too. Yes, for this opportunity to share my story to other people.
All right. So yeah, you heard Kofi Okyere Darko, fashion designer, prominent one at that, sharing his experience on Ghana Road Safety Campaign. Do not drink and drive, no matter how small the drink may be, and do not speed. Per the statistics from the NTTD and National Road Safety Authority, chunk of the accidents that occur on our roads happen at night. So let's be extra cautious in our vehicle usage and as road users. My name is Lord Harisudo Asare, and this has been another edition of the Ghana Web Road Safety Campaign Series. Do join us for subsequent ones. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube platform at Ghana Web TV. On Facebook, it's the Ghana Web, same on Twitter. Send us your videos of some of the things that you may see around that may not help in the campaign.